For a more complex exercise, I've scanned in a figure and some dresses that are drawn over the figure in order to fit correctly. And I've colored those dresses, and I've made sure that the color and line are contiguous. So when I do the magic eraser behind, I completely remove the background and I can put the dress straight onto the figure. Now I'm going to enlarge my image because I want to add more figures. I'm going to scoot my figure over. I use my move tool to scoot the figure, put the dress back on the figure, and then I have a second figure already on the image, which I'm going to use the transform tool to enlarge. I pull it from the side and I'm pressing down on my shift key at the same time so that I can enlarge the figure without distorting. Once I have it to the right size, then I accept that and I put my dress on it, and I do the same thing with the third figure. Now these are all in separate layers, so they can be moved around separately, so I can play with my composition. And I've decided that the orange dress would look best in the middle, so I switch that figure with the blue figure. And now I've used my magic eraser, which is with the eraser tool, to take out all the background. And now I'm going to enlarge my middle figure in order to make a more exciting composition. She comes forward, and then I can play with the proportions of the other two figures. Sometimes it's more exciting if you have multiple figures to do a little bit of overlapping rather than leaving, particularly an even space between is not that interesting. And I've made all three figures slightly different in size, which creates visual interest. Now I have a lot of options in terms of layouts, so I can have something where I'm seeing all three figures, or I can also greatly change the scale of the figures. In this case, again, I'm going to feature my girl in the warm color because she's the most visually dynamic. And I'm going to make her into a cropped figure, bringing her very much forward in space. And then have my other two figures overlapping. Now I think it would be interesting to also put a background into this composition. I found a pretty background of a golden sunset, which goes with the warm tones of the orange dress. And I place that layer into my composition, and then using the transform tool I can stretch it out until it fits the image. But you can see it's a pretty strong background right now. So I'm going to want to eventually soften it, but first I need to create a plane for my figures to stand on. So I fill a space on my background, and then using my opacity, I'm fading the background out so that it's softer and it doesn't come forward. Okay, now I'm bringing up a silhouette of my figures that I've filled with gray, and that's going to become a shadow. I'm going to use my transform tool to rotate, and then there's also a setting for perspective, and I'm going to use that to pull the figure into a perspective form, and the tool will do that for you if you just see how it takes it back into space and makes it lay down on the plane. Now this again is a separate layer. I take my magic eraser and remove the background. And I also want to move the layer back in space so that it's behind the other figures. And I'm softening it, softening the opacity so it's not quite so strong. Now I've gotten all my shadows, and that's the finished composition.